Pride is more than a parade. It's a powerful statement, and if you want to know why, stick around because today we're coming to terms with pride. Hi, I'm Kristen with Unexpected Virtual Tours and Training, where we host radically creative virtual events for remote and hybrid teams. Welcome back to Coming to Terms, the show that traces the roots of the words and ideas that make up our world. Now be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and keep up with the latest best practices in DEI training and virtual team building. Now, let's get to it. As we celebrate LGBTQ+ Pride Month, we want to take a moment to explore that word at the center of it all, pride. We often think the modern pride movement began with the Stonewall riots in 1969, a pivotal event in LGBTQ+ history. The truth, however, is that the Stonewall riots were a culminating event that followed a worldwide struggle older than our nation itself. But for much of U.S. history, simply being on the LGBTQ+ spectrum was illegal and punishable with imprisonment, possibly a life sentence, as well as that person being completely ostracized by society. Pride is not just about celebrating sexual orientation and gender identity, but also about recognizing a long history of resisting the systemic oppression faced by the LGBTQ+ community. So why do we use the word pride? And for that matter, how did parades become synonymous with the LGBTQ+ community? Well, those two answers are somewhat interwoven. So let's start with the parades, and to do so, we return to the Stonewall riots. 1 year after that spontaneous but long simmering uprising, the root of the Pride Parade took shape with the Christopher Street Liberation Day Parade. This public display of unity and self-identity began a tradition that went on to sweep the globe. As for the roots of using the word pride, well, for that, we turn to one of the organizers of that first parade, Craig Schoonmaker, and he famously said, "The poison was shame. The antidote is pride." It is a powerful sentiment that has changed the world, and we should all keep it in mind as we get into the rainbow-filled world of Pride Month. It's important to remember that it might take a lot of strength and courage for a person to live openly and proudly when it comes to identity, especially in a world that has used shame as a weapon of assimilation for centuries. It's also important to honor the many sacrifices made by the ones who took those first steps towards securing the right to live openly and authentically for all people, free from fear or threat, whether from society or the state, simply due to their sexual or gender identity. June is a time when companies intentionally seek ways to honor their LGBTQ+ employees, educate their teams on LGBTQ+ history, and make a concentrated effort to foster inclusivity and belonging. Even during a time meant to celebrate and uplift, challenges can sneak in. For example, LGBTQ+ employees may hear comments that diminish their experiences, such as, "Why do we need a Pride Month?" Or, "I don't care if you're gay, just don't flaunt it." Now, comments like these invalidate the ongoing struggles and achievements of the LGBTQ+ community. These microaggressions can also be opportunities for education and inclusion if handled respectfully and mindfully. If you need help on how to handle those tough situations, you can visit our channel or website for more free resources. I think we've come to terms with why pride matters in general, and there are many more reasons pride should matter to your organization. Observing Pride Month with meaningful, enriching activities can have significant positive outcomes for the workplace. According to a report by McKinsey & Company, companies that foster a diverse and inclusive culture are more innovative and perform better financially. Furthermore, creating an environment where LGBTQ+ employees feel valued can reduce turnover and increase job satisfaction and customer loyalty. But more than that, Pride is a way for LGBTQ+ employees to see that their struggles and triumphs are important to their community, and for coworkers to learn the history of this important celebration. So how do companies celebrate Pride in a meaningful way and honor the true meaning of that word? First, before you even think about grabbing a rainbow sticker, educate yourself and your team about LGBTQ+ history and issues. You can add educational information to your organization's in-house communications, as well as your external newsletters or emails. You can take small actions like starting a book club. And on a larger scale, if your team doesn't have an LGBTQ+ employee resource group, consider taking steps to help create one for your team. You can also host events that celebrate LGBTQ+ culture and contributions, such as our 1-hour live virtual Pride event, which we will link to below. Well, folks, that is all the time we have for this episode of Coming to Terms, but let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. You'll also see links to more resources in this video's description section. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're looking for unexpected ways to expand your company's ability to work together as a team, please reach out. We're your experts in radically creative diversity, equity, and inclusion training events for remote and hybrid teams. And we'd love to host your team's event any time of year. But until next time, stay informed, stay inspired, and stay in touch.